They'll know who she is.
And there's a chance they may remember her name from a statewide ballot. I mean, that's going to count for something. I mean, whereas if you look at a Bennett, even really Romanoff, I mean, they just have not had their name sort of broadcast statewide like that. That just counts for a lot.
I tell you what, let's switch to the other fun one. I think there is yes, I think there's a real chance, not a likelihood, but a chance that we could see a one-term governor here in Colorado, which we haven't seen an incumbent lose in, what, 50 years?
I always
something
forget
like that?
the number.
I think it's close to 50 years. I mean, we love our governors and we want to keep them there. Any talk of a primary challenge to Ritter? Now that Romanoff's not going to do it, and I thought Romanoff would pull the plug on that one, and he didn't.
But you say, if not Romanoff, who? I mean,
Right.
you have the whole people who were behind Greg Kolomitz and that whole mess. Bless you, dear.
Thank you.
And they talk about running somebody against him, but he also has a war chest. He has Obama coming against him. Maybe their way of getting back at him is helping Romanoff run against Bennett. I mean, those two races are one and the same in my mind, because in some ways, a vote for Romanoff is in some cases for people is a vote against Ritter.
But a way to keep him as governor.
Well, I don't think they're necessarily saying that. They're saying he's the only person here. I think what Ritter
will there be a challenger to Ritter inside the party?
I don't
see it as of yet.
But I think his big problem is Republicans percentage-wise tend to vote more. A percentage of more Republicans will go to the polls. I think what Ritter has is he has Democrats who say, I'm not going to vote for him. This is what our pollster saw with the Schaefer when she came in. She goes, here's the problem you have. Mark Udall is carrying, what, I'm making these numbers up, 82% of the Democratic vote, but Bob Schaefer's only getting 71% of the Republican vote. And I think
you see that going the opposite way this time.
Yeah, his biggest problem could be lack of enthusiasm. I mean, he has he's alienated a lot of people in the unions, not all of them, but many of them. He is going to have...
Let me take that for a second, which is an amazing thing to do because he's alienated a lot of people in business over the unions, including the executive order.
A lot of people say, look, you really have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, you can't do half here and half there. In politics, it doesn't work.
And then on top of that, any governor who governs in a time when you're having to whack spending, whack programs, I mean, that's not going to make you popular. Certainly, just not giving increases in spending makes you unpopular. The higher ed people are not exactly full throttle behind him. They are going to end up having to whack K-12 spending substantially.
Which might be unconstitutional depending on how you read Amendment 23.
Could be. Ironically, they're using a Republican doctrine or philosophy to do it. And that's not going to, line up the education community, CEA, the normal crowd of people behind him. So he has a real problem.
The most symbolic thing that I think Ritter did, which was one of the smallest things, but it echoed, was increasing the tax on cars, calling it fee, of course, and people who had their little trailer that they drive their motorcycle on, finding that they owe a $100 late fee and then an extra $40 when they finally register their trailer. In a few counties, I think you were the one to report this, they've had to hire off-duty cops to hang out in the county clerk's office for people who are hacked off.
It's weird because, I work with the so-called liberal media, and they come over there.
Is the liberal media.
I'm so conservative. And you always say, that scares me that you were once a registered Republican. But they come over to me and they're like, I am so mad at Ritter. My mom has a trailer and we haven't used it for a couple years. It was no big deal before. You either paid a $10 late fee or some counties didn't charge a late fee at all. I actually think the whole property tax among schools, I think you could talk to 600 people and only one of them would understand it. But an auto registration fee,
hit it, and here's the difference.
That's what people get.
The Ritter mill levy freeze, you don't really see, particularly if you're paying your mortgage and the mortgage company takes out taxes and insurance. But when it comes to the auto fee, people have to write it out on a check and they see it, and that's powerful.
Right.
We've only got a few minutes left. Let's switch over to Penry versus McGinnis and whoever else might be running for the Republican nomination. Who do you hear? I mean, is there a third member, somebody else?
Dan Mace.
Dan Mace, that's right.
He's been everywhere.
He's been everywhere. But really, let's be honest, this is a fight between Josh and Scott.
Tidwell of the race.
Right.
Somebody who's in it, who goes to everything, who has a loyal following.
And has no money.
Right.
Right. All right, so what's odd is to have Scott McGinnis's former employee, the young Mr. Josh Penry, decide to challenge him. I believe Scott wanted a free ride on this and wanted, needed to have no primary. That's not going to happen. What happens in this race?
You know, it's fascinating to me because Penry, I think, is going to have a real challenge in trying to distinguish himself. He's not known statewide, and he's fairly young, but also on top of that, young looking. And you know, it's going to be difficult, I think, for him. I mean, McInnes has at least some of those advantages from having served in Congress. But I'm wondering how Penry really is going to make his mark with voters.
Bring it over here.
Well, I think in some ways what's interesting is the liberals like to say, for example, oh, Josh is so right-wing and Scott's more moderate. But if you look at the people who have lined up behind Josh Penry, that's fascinating. Don Bain, the former chairman of the Democratic, the state Republican Party, Kiki Traylor, Rob Whitworth, these former lawmakers. These are not
hardcore.
Kiki lost because she wasn't, remember, conservative. Rob's, you know, gets high ratings with the Sierra Club and you know, the tree huggers. These are the people behind Josh. I think it's a fascinating race.
Is Josh too young? He's what, 33 years old?
They said he was. You know what's interesting to me, and I love Matt Smith. My first sessions, Matt Smith is Scott McInnes' brother-in-law. That was the whole fight where Scott and Josh started Hodassos, because both Matt and Josh were running for the state Senate. And if you go back, what McInnes said at the time is Josh is too young, he's not experienced enough, blah, blah, blah. Josh wins. I love Matt Smith, but I'll tell you, in covering him, Josh Penry in his freshman year in the House, I thought had much more of an impact than, as a minority member, than Matt did when the Republicans were in charge and he chaired a committee.
I think Josh has been a real leader in the state Senate. He has been, during the fight on Ref C, he was the go-to guy, at least for me in my campaign, on the Western Slope. And he, because of...
Josh Penry defeated Ref D.
He defeated Ref. I would agree with that. Not only that, but Ref C lost in Grand Junction, where he was on
the surrounding counties
on there by a larger majority than Ref C lost in El Paso County and Colorado Springs. So, all right, we've got a minute left. Give me some predictions. What do you think's going to happen?
We never do the predictions. Don't buy into it.
Buy into it. What do you think's going to happen?
With regard to the Penry,
yeah.
You know, I see. At this stage, based upon what I know, I see Ritter likely cruising toward another victory, but one with a lot less enthusiasm than his first one. I think that at this stage it would be almost sort of a default. We'll pick Ritter because there's nobody else better.
When does Lynn Bartels get fired from the Denver Post?
Is she still working for us?
No, we got a pool going. If it's 3 months, I win $1,000. Lynn, thank you so much. I got to run. Tim, thank you so much. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. Check out our website, independenceinstitute.org. And, of course, great podcasts at ivoices.org. Tell a friend. We'll see you next week. You jibber jab, bamboozle, nuka noozle, bippity bop, You jibber jab, bamboozle, nuka noozle, bippity bop, I mean, you keep on talking, but you don't know where to turn it off.